Thank you very much, Jack. I thought it was very useful. It is putting us into the context of certain discretions, perhaps, that may have taken place, if they have, and also about the NCMP, which is becoming quite a hot topic. It will become quite a hot topic if, let's say, the PAP decides not to open up the seat to Daniel Goh, which will be very interesting if it does that. Our last speaker who has been sitting there patiently, thank you very much, is... Sorry? Yeah, it was supposed to be number whatever in my head. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's Terry, and I think all of you all know Terry, as also described by Shitung. So we'll let Terry fill the void here on social media. Thank you.
Okay. Is it on?
Yes.
Can you hear me, right? Okay. Okay. So I'll be reading from the script, but I have a lot of inserts from because of all these other speakers. I would like to thank MARUAH for inviting me to speak on the general election matters. And I would say, not much of what has been covered on media. And I must say that I was in a position that I disagree with what Derek mentioned. But after the general election, after speaking to people on the ground, I totally agree with what he said. that social media did not do much in terms of influencing. I was a bit disappointed after the general election that he did I felt that TOC didn't do much and stuff. But after the general election, I think that we would not have done anything to sway the votes in any much way. And I will clarify further on why do I say that. So okay, this paragraph is not relevant because I was supposed to be someone in front. Now I'm at back, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, so firstly, right, how much did social media affect the results of the swung of votes in any way? To me, I think it's probably substantial for new voters. New voters, as in those people who came to age this election. People who were I put in here, indoctrinated over the years in education of how PAP was the savior and whatever not. And in fact, I'm speaking as a hardcore PAP supporter until the age of 23. Then I decided to say, hey, something is really wrong. So for the voters, right, when it comes to general, when it comes to the polling booth, man, to make the decision of which political party to vote for very much is influenced by what the person is being exposed over the past 20, 30 years. So I doubt, based on that short period of campaigning, that 9 days would be able to influence what this person would vote for, or which party would vote for. In fact, I think a lot of there are a couple of new media out there who will further reinforce that they should vote for the incumbent. Namely, like sites like Mothership, right? The social media feed with interviews from both PAP, Workers' Party, and other political parties, showing the soft side to the political figures. They are not the auditory figures who they would think them to be. They have their soft side to it. How approachable they are. But of course, as civil activists, we of course know that's not the case. So I personally find it quite hard to believe that someone would be swayed by social media to have to distance from this idea that PAP is the only viable political party and can be replaced by a group of opportunistic misfits. I think that's the idea that most would have, as in for new voters. As much as we criticize like pages like Fabrication of PAP, Flop, being echo chambers within themselves, like how PAP is like the savior, God, LKY, etc. Right? Social media platforms such as TOC and like TRE are no better themselves. Reason being, by comparing PAP candidates with candidates from alternative parties, citing that they have lack of qualification, laughing at the stuff that they say, example, Goh Chok Tong saying and throwing the knee, or whether is it Vivian on his weird choice of word using backstabbing, which we made a video of it. So we might think that such stuff might influence the voters, thinking that hey, these people are not credible. These people are not someone who you work for. But then again, to them, all this doesn't matter because what they're voting for, it would seem it's far from just the candidates. It's really the party thing. If it's not a party thing, right? Why would Lee Hsien Loong put his face all over Singapore?
Yeah.
It's like that's just individual candidate. So therefore, I would say it's not a party thing that they are voting for in this election. And the thing is, right? This gave an illusion or impression that political party would win, opposition political party or alternative parties would win it big. You will receive, and I suppose you will receive in WhatsApp that the bookies ratio and stuff, Fengshan, East Coast, Marine Parade, Mountbatten will have won, and this gave an impression that opposition might win a few more seats. And social media platform like TOC and stuff, we also like share, you have all this credible opposition, and you can win big. And this is also further reflected on the print media, newspaper and stuff. If you all have been following print media, whether it's Chinese, English, especially TNP, right? You will notice that Workers' Party SDP has been featured predominantly on their rally size, on how well they are doing, how credible the opposition are. But the problem is, like what Rafiz have mentioned, the election has been lost even before the campaigning period. Reason being, right, these people, right, started turning up only after the campaigning. Before that, there's nothing of them. You don't know they are distant. To people, right, I need to quote to the survey I did at Mountbatten. I went down to Mountbatten and asked some because Jeanette was so puzzled at why did she get such a result. She got a very near result in the last 2011, but in this election she got really only at 28%. So she was puzzled. So I went down to Mountbatten and I surveyed some of the old folks. Okay, I only managed to find old folks because they are really there. So the thing is, right, you talk with them, right, you have this understanding that they group and bundle all opposition together as one entity. So whenever some joker whenever some opposition parties like Reform Party mention things that are not political savvy, or when especially on new immigration policies, when they say something, people associate that with parties. But I must say, Workers' Party really did a good job at listening, because even referring to my mom is a political apathetic individual, where always ask me, why are you doing all this, like what's the point, and she will definitely vote for PAP. But then again, for this election, she told me in a very pissed off manner that she's I'm in Choa Chu Kang GRC. She showed me a pissed off manner and said, this opposition, they do not have standard or boreal, as you might say. Because when she was there, she tried to understand more from the opposition party. But the volunteer looked at one side and gave her a pamphlet. Well, she was so pissed off at this attitude that she decided at that point that who she vote for. So and she bundled that with the other parties, except for Workers' Party. So word of mouth by individuals actually makes a very big point. And reflecting back to what Alex mentioned, that bigger and established opposition party must find it, must look at it as something that they must do to criticize the other political parties if there is a need to, in order to distance themselves from the others. If not, a lot of people, because everyone is contesting at each individual ward without going a three-part corner fight, people think that they are going for a coalition government, which scared a lot of people, which this was said by one of the old folks that I met at Mountbatten. And he said that, hey, everyone is contesting at all the wards. What if you vote in a opposition government? Of course, this would not have been, this is definitely not possible for those people who are aware of the political scene. But to someone, right, who is only exposed to the political scene every 5 years and being bombarded with so-called newspaper reports on the scene, right, they might find that this is a scenario that they're facing, and which I personally attribute here to the 5% swing that Alexal mentioned, that by right, Workers' Party, with the candidates that Workers' Party have, by the I would say manifesto, but really by the overall package that Workers' Party had, they wouldn't. There's no reason why there's a 5% drop or even more in certain cases. But of course, let's not discount the effect that the $8 billion Pioneer Generation package, the $5 million additional budget that the PA had this year, the SG50 celebration, the SEA Games, and the medals won this year, and most significantly, right, the passing of our most beloved and quote founding father of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, earlier this March. So with this, right, as what Mr. Indrajit Singh mentioned, right, all these factors would attribute to a large portion of the decrease in votes for opposition, but that does not explain why the Workers' Party did so badly. Fairly badly compared to the rest. So let me see. Okay, so looking at social media, right, I think that that opposition parties, while they should so-called improve their thing on social media, but they from what we are saying here, they should spend more time speaking to people on the ground. But of course, that is an issue because with the gerrymandering that happens every now and then, right? Even look at Lee Jin Jong, for example. Lee Jin Jong spent the past 4 years working at Juche. If Juche was remained as it is as an SMC, he would join one thing. And of course, there's one interesting point that Lee Jin Jong said after the election. But there was one voter who went up to him and said that, Jin Jong, I would have voted for you, but if you're voting, if you're contesting at SMC, but because now you're contesting at GRC against Goh Chok Tong, that's why I could not. So this is the kind of thing that this is the kind. Lee Jin Jong was unlucky that he was not being given the same opportunity like what they had in Aljunied, where 2 ministers were being voted out and Minister of State. In this case, the people chose the state to maintain the status quo. Especially, you have a former Prime Minister of Singapore to choose from. Okay. Of course, right. With the unfair restriction of usage on resources such as PA, community facilities, etc., opposition will look towards social media as a cost-effective and easier means of communication. But then again, right, still have to go back to on the ground because that is the only way to secure the voters. Because social media is something that comes and goes. While you may be a hype this year, but next year there's another thing. So you have to actually be on the ground. And Sudhir, you're back. I need to address this thing. I have a lot of points. I disagree that with the 70% mandate, right, that they would release so-called relinquish the thing. Bear in mind, a lot of this 7%, a sizable sum, right, are influenced by the Whisper campaign, the WhatsApp, etc. IBs going on attack on AHPTC, etc. These are all offensive campaign against the opposition. So if what this shows, like this shows that their way of using offensive on the opposition to discredit them works. If not anything, and they should buck up and see whether they can get 80 or 90%. And
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I just say. And the thing is, right. With if you notice, right, we have a lot of new alternative media sites coming up. Mothership, Middle Ground, 66, and etc. Right. The thing is, right, would the government use this this site as an example, and then say, okay, if TOC were to be licensed or asked to be closed down, they will say that it's okay because you have other credible alternative sites. And so my question to other sites is, well, this I wouldn't say what. You have to ask where are the fundings coming from, because while they do report to MDA, but on the forefront, where are they fundings coming from? Like for us, we are very, very, very upfront on where our money is coming from. Our money comes from donations from the people, and MDA PMO knows it. But the other sites, investors, we also try to get investors. But the thing is, it's very hard, given that if our stance is when it comes to government policies. Okay, so moving on, let's let me see here. We are. Okay, so moving on, we come to the difficulty of making sense of election process. So as Jack Lee mentioned about the legal stuff, right? We tried during the election, right, to find out, make more sense from the election department. We wrote 8 mails to the election department ELD and received only one reply, asking us to refer to what PMB said in Parliament. So the other reply was actually through another referral, which is from the Ministry of Home Affairs. So TOC asked questions such as, okay, why is PAP candidates allowed to use Ge to canvass for votes? Why are they printing posters, right, without the stamp of approval from ELD and pasting all around the place? Why certain regulations were put in place only this election, which seem to disadvantage certain opposition party. Example, the one that disallowed one political party to standing in place. You have to quit the party in order to do so. Or for opposition parties to take the stage in other rallies to so-called show solidarity with one another. And on the point where Derek would say that it is impossible, right, to explain why the heck is the two SMC and GRC removed for this election. Because there should be some reasons why it can't be the EBRC decided, okay, you spend 2 months deciding on the thing and then come up with no reasons for that. If that's the case, anyone can do that. Just, okay, I'll just pick and choose which one to do so. So all this thing went out to the abyss and never seen again. So if alternate parties were to ask my opinion on how to move forward, I would suggest this. Horse trading awards, like what Alexander mentioned, should be, I wouldn't say abolished because there's no practice to begin with, but to be discontinued on the basis that opposition parties, right, should, especially the new parties, right, should start from beginning. You have to work out, build out your grassroots, and then consider. Like People's Power Party in this instance, right, they had barely less than 10 volunteers running the GRC, Choa Chu Kang GRC. So how can you contest if that's the case? You can't just have representative and say, I want to contest, but then again, you don't have the sizable grassroots or representation. And then you say that, oh, because in terms of having unity within the opposition party, it shouldn't be the case. You should be only when you have a certain either reputation, credibility, and you have a certain size before you do that. Because if not, you would, as going back to the same thing, and people bundle all this opposition party together. So the very fact that you have this type of opposition coming out, right, they will say that other opposition party might be the same. It's very hard to tell the voters that, oh, okay, this party is different, because they can't even recognize the symbol. But they only can say not PAP. That's their understanding of the political parties. And this horse trading, in the recent election, a straight fight doesn't mean that opposition would have a better fight. As shown in important Pasir, where Lina Chan avoided a three-corner fight with Tan Lam Siong. But then again, right, after the election, she got even less than what she had in the previous election, 22%. So, and if anything were to be a representation, Punggol East by-election showed us how the four-corner fight does not disadvantage the opposition, the credible one. And so has the fight at the McPherson SMC showed that the lesser credible opposition party will always lose, and even to the point of losing the deposit. So I would say at that point, the electorate are able to discrete, which is the better party. And therefore, political parties should not form alliance for the sake of doing so, without understanding of how such alliances would work. So, and I think this is one very important point. New citizens, and what Mary mentioned, right, should not be viewed as people who spoil the votes for the election. On the basis that, bear in mind, apart from new citizens, they are, even let's say we consider that new citizens actually had the 10%, 9.72% swing, and etc. Right? But you have to, how many Singaporeans voted for PAP to begin with? You cannot fault the new citizens for voting someone who brought them in. But the Singaporeans who choose to stay with the status quo, I would say that. And therefore, right, opposition parties should look forward and see how are they able to court the votes from the new citizen, how to establish that they would make life easy or make the Singapore as fair as possible for the new citizens, and not to say stuff that will scare them off and vote for PAP just to ensure that they will not be kicked out from Singapore. And I would say, as what the election result can show us, right, is the lack of information on alternative political parties, fear of voting for the incumbent, which is very true. During my survey at Mountbatten, right, I was asking, do you think that the GE results were were what expected, should look at me and say, if they dare, take away the serial number. So immediately I know who did she vote for, because all citizens are, when you see the serial number, even for me going to the polling booth, this is where the polling officials are. This is really the distance. This is where the polling. It was shouting like it was end of the hall. So at that point when they shouted at me, even whatever thought process I have will be affected. Definitely, that is the case. I think that should be reflected. So on that basis. So while there are some people who treat Singapore as a springboard to more developed countries like UK or USA, but I believe a lot of people are here in Singapore just as how the founding fathers and pioneers in Singapore came to Singapore to look for a better future for their family. So therefore, opposition parties should not alienate this group of people, and because the only ones who will benefit from such divide will be the incumbent, divide and conquer. Yeah. So what this election result has, Okay, so going back to Nizam's point about the civil society, the thing is, we have people have spoken. 70% have voted for PAP. 70% of people have voted for PAP. But then again, I think there are many magnitudes of reasons why the vote happened that way, and we should not dwell upon all this unhappiness and say, "Oh, let's leave out Singapore," etc. And I think PAP might not be that happy with a 70% vote, because imagine if there's a springboard effect, seesaw effect for the next one, we might see even actually more votes losing to the opposition parties. So so last word, while it's harder to do so to reach out to more people, but there's nothing about change in human history that has been easy to begin with. So I think all the best for us in the coming 5 years.